Meanwhile, in Manhattan, the average monthly rent is $5,600. You need to make 40 times the rent. So an annual take home of $224,000 is the bare minimum you need to make to even get close to living comfortably in New York City. Not to mention, you need to show ID, proof of income, bank statements, credit report, colonoscopy, get a background check, all to live in a sterile, bland, 350 square foot shoebox with a view of a brick wall and a junkie sleeping in the doorway. What is up? My name is Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. I am back. This, of course, is the epicenter for all of your current and captivating coastal elite chaos. So please hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, leave a comment or two, share this with a friend. Let's go. So, as most of us know by now, this asylum seeker or migrant crisis may have reached its peak recently. Maybe, maybe not, but we can certainly hope. Either way, we are now at the point where these asylum seekers, which is one of the most despicable, dystopian, Democrat doublespeak euphemisms on the planet, right up there with gender-affirming care, but that's a different point and I digress. We are now at the point where these people are protesting the free housing that has been provided to them by the city of New York. And how in the world did we get here? Obviously, this is a decades-old problem. Some of us may even be old enough to remember a time when nearly every single politician agreed that illegal immigration bad, but those days are long gone. It is highly likely that terminal, severe TDS has caused certain people to take positions that make absolutely no sense. These people would cut off their noses to spite their faces, or perhaps more realistically cut off their dicks to gain some moral high ground, but that again is beside the point. So these migrants, these asylum seekers, they show up unannounced, they're given food and shelter, and without even attempting to learn English, most of them have just decided that what has been given to them was just not enough. This is like real mob tactic type of stuff, real Debo and Friday, what you got on my 40 homie type of stuff.
What's up, y'all? What's up, Red? Thanks for the bite. What you got on my 40, homie?
I thought you had $200.
I do. But I won't spend Red's money.
It's insanity. But anyways, this is not a new problem, so I can't sit here and pretend to recount the entire history of illegal immigration, but I'm sure most of us remember the migrant caravans from 2018. But more recently than that, let's not forget October 2021. Biden secretly flying underage migrants into New York in dead of night. So they were really just getting started at this point. This story did not get the attention it deserved, and Mayor Eric Adams was still at this point in time parroting sanctuary city talking points and saying he was going to keep everybody safe or whatever it was. It's all absolutely crazy. And I'm sure Eric Adams and Joe Biden would prefer that everybody forget this ever happened. They always get really offended when you remember something that happened more than 48 hours ago. You know, as they say, pattern recognition is now a conspiracy theory. And this middle of the night flight fiasco was before the infamous Martha's Vineyard migrants. Martha's Vineyard migrants. September 2022. Florida's DeSantis flies dozens of, quote, illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard, escalating tactic against, quote, sanctuary destinations. So it's despicable. The media is obviously in on this. They put illegal immigrants in quotations, even though that's exactly what it is, but they will never put asylum seeker in quotation because that's, you know, obviously they have to manipulate the language every single time to maintain control and sort of uphold the facade. But at that time, when Ron DeSantis flew, 50 migrants to Martha's Vineyard, the pearls were clutched. I mean, how dare he? This prompted an entire investigation into how DeSantis and Florida could do this. They didn't really think about how or why the illegals were coming and how you could stop them or maybe you should send them back. Nope, nothing like that. They wanted a criminal investigation into how Ron DeSantis and the people of Florida didn't immediately give the criminals that were entering his state exactly what they wanted. I mean, they were most likely screaming at people in Spanish, but you should have just Google translated it on the spot and given them exactly what they asked for. Because as we know, in the backwards, bizarro, Democrat clown world, criminals always have the moral high ground. Then, January 2023, tons of food gets tossed daily by New York City Hotel because migrants won't eat it. And I actually saw this in person, completely new, pristine, unwrapped Uncrustables surrounding the trash cans outside of the Row Hotel near Times Square. And newsflash, if you wanted the food of your homeland, you probably should have stayed there. Then also, January 2023, migrants refused to leave Hell's Kitchen Hotel for relocation to Brooklyn. And at this point, what did we think was going to happen? They've already made it crystal clear that they are coming, they're here to stay whether you like it or not. So this old hotel that used to cost a regular tourist a bare minimum of $300 a night is now theirs. And they're telling you to your face in Spanish that you can't do anything about it. And while I've always said this is very entitled, and it is entitled, it's also incredibly thuggish, right? Like, this is our block now. This is our corner now. And it makes perfect sense because the political regime is filled with thugs. So, birds of a feather, I suppose. Then some months go by. They just keep packing them in by the thousands into New York every single week from all over the world with literally one English word spoken between all of them, that of course being money. And let's not forget that Eric Adams was initially virtue signaling about the entire thing. Then he did a 180, started talking tough, and people were saying that the regime was investigating him because he tried to stop the migrant problem, which I doubt. He had a couple choice words at a press conference, but he has done absolutely nothing to try to stop the problem.
We're getting no support on this national crisis, and we're receiving no support. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City.
Which is fair. I don't think it's really his problem, but all that sanctuary city talk has definitely come back to bite him. And for the record, with the last two New York governors and the most recent lieutenant governor of New York having dealt with real corruption issues, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Eric Adams might just be corrupt too, and it has nothing to do with the immigrants. I mean, that's a different story as well. It's a mess, to put it nicely. And something similar is going on in San Francisco, where people are saying, oh, they cleaned up for a dictator. But they didn't. They didn't really clean up at all. They put a couple fences up around 3 or 4 city blocks, and the junkies are just right outside the fence, getting high, looking in. And that, too, is a different story anyways. November 2023. First migrants arrive at New York City's Floyd Bennett Field, only to scoff and leave isolated site after just one look around. Disaster waiting to happen. So they didn't like the remote nature of South Brooklyn. It's a transit desert, they say. I mean, this is really crazy. And I've said this several times, bear with me, but after having traveled around a lot of the country, we have the space. There's plenty of no man's land out there, but these people don't have the resources or the know-how or the wherewithal to actually start from scratch and build out in the middle of nowhere. Because if that were the case, they would probably do that in their own countries. But that's not what they want to do. They want to take what people have already built and without even bothering to speak they know one word of English, that being money, of course, but without speaking the language, they want you to know that you owe them. You owe them food. You owe them shelter. You owe it to them to make sure that they live in luxury. And I don't want to get too conspiratorial about the whole thing. Well, actually do. I love to do that. But these types of demands have open society, commie takeover written all over it. Also, November 2023, migrant advocates protest outside Gracie Mansion against push to end New York City's right to shelter. So they're trying to stop the law that forces them to house the entire world, basically. So sounds like, they come in, they take advantage of the law. Somebody, I guess maybe Eric Adams, tries to change the law, and they're saying, nope, you can't do that. You owe us this. And we don't want to live out in your tent city. We want to live at the Row Hotel in Times Square. I mean, it's just through the roof. It's beyond parody. So they just show up and start protesting that they weren't given what they showed up for. Meanwhile, in Manhattan, the average monthly rent is $5,600. You need to make 40 times the rent. So an annual take home of $224,000 is the bare minimum you need to make to even get close to living comfortably in New York City. Not to mention, you need to show ID, proof of income, bank statements, credit report, colonoscopy, get a background check, all to live in a sterile, bland, 350 square foot shoebox with a view of a brick wall and a junkie sleeping in the doorway. But the migrants, they don't have to do any of that. And they still want to protest because South Brooklyn is too far. Oh, you work illegally in the Bronx? Give me a break. You traveled through 3, 4, 5 countries to claim asylum because that's what some NGO told you to do. You thought it was going to be all Coronas and, a party of anchor baby making, when what you should do is put your flip-flops back on, put your sweatpants back on, and your free Comcast t-shirt, pack all your stuff up back into your black trash bag, and go home. And as far as Mayor Eric Adams is concerned, I mean, the man can barely even read. He sounds like Tracy Morgan, but that, of course, is not what this is about. He is a political puppet, but he's not stupid. He is completely corrupt at its very best and wholly evil at worst. So after creating this problem, or helping to create this problem, then backtracking, and then announcing deep budget cuts to city services and pretending that it's not a tax hike, it's insane. We're not all that stupid, Eric. And the regime, Eric included, wants to pretend that this is some sort of incredibly complex issue that only the brightest among us could even possibly understand. But I mean, I'd be happy to offer some fairly obvious solutions, but Eric Adams won't read my DMs, and I would be immediately removed from social media if these solutions were made public.